tyre changed.
Now, will Moffat be content to stay in second place for long? I think he will. He's quite happy with the way the race is going, getting a little bit of a tow from his teammate. But he's decided he might go a little closer. He pulls up on the outside. Colin will see him coming. There'll be no racing between them. He'll let him start in front, and he'll tuck in behind.
John Goss back on the circuit as Colin Bond in number 2 arrives at the end of Conrod with the boss, Alan Moffat, driving. Moffat, Bond, that's the order, then Alan Grice.
Other cars in the pits. Oh no, let's keep up the top of the mountain where there's a pit of its own being established. This is Johnny Rutherford. A very disappointed John Rutherford, I would think. You can see the tyre marks. You can see the moment he had. He's been all over the track by the look of it. Something has gone wrong. Whether it was another car or whether something in trouble. He did call into the pits earlier, so he's had problems from the start, but you can see that he's had some violent moments there. Now let's watch on a 7 replay camera. He's lost the door and all. He really went into the bank hard. You can see he came off there, hit the bank. Oh, a good 30 metres up. The leader now just about to complete 17 laps.
He's drawn away a little from Colin Bond too.
Right. While we're watching this, let me just give you an idea of the scores. In the 3-litre class, it's Bo Seaton leading from Lacus Manticus in the second of the Capris, and Terry Shield with Don Holland in the Mazda. In 4th place, Russell Scaife and Sue Ransom in the Capri, and 5th is the 3-litre BMW of Phil McDonald and Jim Hunter. So it's Seaton in the AMCO Capri, Manticus in the Enrust Capri second, and the Penrith Mazda RX3 in 3rd place among the 3-litre cars. They're the IBM score positions for that class.
Dealers team car once again going through the cutting. Colin Bond is running in 2nd place, has dropped back marginally on Alan Moffat, and if anything the Tiranas have gained a little ground on Colin Bond, the right-hander through Phillips. There's Bond going through, and we're back to Moffat once again over the top of the mountain, really working hard there in the Ford, giving plenty of throttle, and he's trying to establish a fairly positive lead at this stage of the race.
While we watch the outright leader, let me just run through the positions as far as the 2-litre class is concerned. With the loss of the Toyota in the very first lap, we have 3 escorts in front. It's the Stevens Farrell car, number 69, from Board and Poole, the South Australian pair, and Arnell and Carter, those 3. Then the Alfetta of Frank Porter and Jim Murcott, and the Alpha of Derek Bell and Gary Leggett in 5th place. All very close together. Down the straight, you can see one of the Falcons there. Looks as though he has a flat. Maybe Jim Richards. He's going down on one side and very slowly. So drivers have to be very careful now with the gravel and rock strat. Oh, we've got a blow up there.
Oh, and what a terrible place to have one too in Conrod Straight at absolute top speed.
And it's the Bob Jane car.
It may just be the oil filter. They've done that before. Yes. Pete Gagan's big brawny right fist out the window. They'll be having the filter ready. He did it twice yesterday. If that's all it is, it won't stop them very long, but they've got some pressurizing problem.
And we also have a great dice for the lead going on here too, or for 2nd place rather, with Grice and Moffat. There's Gagan going into the pits.
It's happening all around the circuit. In the pits, the action with Gagan up the track with Moffat and Grice locked in this desperate struggle for 2nd place. It's still very early days with only 27 laps covered, but Moffat doesn't want a man between himself and Colin Bond, and Grice doesn't want to let the lead get too far away. Alan Grice, a very determined driver, just in front of Alan Moffat, under the greatest pressure one could imagine. Car 10 fairly close behind is Jim Richards in the Falcon. He's had a delay in the pits with valve trouble, but is back out there going quickly. In the meantime, it looks like the oil filter being changed. There'll be some burnt hands there from the crew. Yes, it's the oil filter being unscrewed. They scream, shout for oil. They want to prime the oil filter and add oil that will drip out when they are changing it. But that's all it is, that persisting problem with the oil filter, which blows its gasket. And while while they struggle to change. Up on top of the mountain, of course, the leaders are drawing further and further away. Alan Grice still with a determined Moffat on his tail. One of the little Mazdas gets the fright of his life as the Grice car comes sliding round behind him. Bond still in front. This is the race for second place, but what a race.
Tremendous drive here from Alan Grice and Alan Moffat, who have been engaged in this tremendous dice. And Alan Grice, of course, is one of the most colourful drivers in this year's Hardy Ferodo 1000 Classic. Grice takes the tail right out there and pulls it in tight, lets it flow fairly freely out towards the guardrail. And now you're going to see a battle of tactics whether or not Grice can maintain this advantage down the straight. Grice moves out to overlap, I think, the Golf.
But Moffat will go by because they're playing a game of slingshots. He has the toe this time. He'll go by. Let's see whether Grice repeats that fantastic late braking manoeuvre he did last time and goes so much deeper into the corner than Moffat. But Moffat's got a long lead this time. And if Grice goes by now, he'll stop at the Bathurst milk bar.
In fact, I'd say Alan Grice is going to call into the pits.
Yes, I think Grice has got problems. There's the Bridgestone scoreboard showing the leading cars. As you can see in the open class, Alan Moffat has gone through. We're waiting in the pits now as Alan Grice is coming into the pits.
Coming second in the class, car 32, the Rotary engine Mazda. That's entered by James Mason Motors, Lynn Brown and Bruce Stewart driving. They're one lap behind Barry Seaton, and one lap in front of the third car, which is car 43, another Rotary engine Mazda, Lance Dixon's great Doncaster Road Motor Show entry, which is a real mouthful. Nick Louis and Hiroshima Fushida, one of the three Japanese drivers in this race, all in the same class. Nick Louis has been driving the car in third spot. Fushida we'll see a little later.
It's quite a sizable gap, really, between the first three in that particular class.
Much more than we would have expected. The Rotary Mazdas, of course, are very quick cars. And this is 32, the one coming second in the class, behind the Capri, but the leader of the Rotary pack. Lynn Brown and Bruce Stewart are the drivers. Up through Phillips Curve, a long climbing but fast part of the circuit which precedes Reed Park, and then this sweeping run through the circuit which you've captured so well there. A fast left-hander up to the top of the mountain and then round up on top of the straight. A very fast part of the circuit where there is no room for error, the part where Bob Holden and Johnny Rutherford touched, putting both cars out of the race earlier today. Rutherford, the dual winner of Indianapolis, driving the Hodgson Channel 7 car. Very disappointed to be eliminated in such a way. They hope that they can repair the car, which was not too badly scrambled by the spin the biff that took against the dirt bank. But we haven't as yet seen it out on the track. Insist on two drivers, and they limit the amount of time that one driver can continue. We've seen some of them, notably people like Peter Brock stay in for a couple of spells before handing over to Philip. But John Davison.
Well, from what I know of the situation, the second driver must spend at least 2 hours in the car. It becomes very dicey, to put it mildly, towards the end of the event, and this has happened a couple of times here up at Bathurst, where drivers have been in cars and they've had about 2 or 3 laps to go, and they've literally been running out of the amount of time they're legally allowed to spend in the car. But Charlie O'Brien was saying to me this morning that Ron Harrop would only be spending approximately 2 hours in the car. So the first driver can spend roughly 75% of the distance in the car, and the other driver must spend at least 25%.
So a disaster for some of the teams that play it very fine. You have, say, heavy rain towards the end of the race, which might stretch the time limit and put them in some jeopardy. So a 2-hour limit is what the minimum that a driver must have. A flat tyre on one of the 3-litre cars. You see pulling into the pits there, the Warren Tour entry, John Duggan and Brian Wheeler sharing the driving of this, and another victim of the abrasive nature of the circuit and the gravel and stones that have been flung out on the track because of the cars clipping those corners to try and straighten the lines out. Here's another flat. 41, John Duggan.
That's the second flat he's had today too, that car.